from Omaha's news leader. This is KETV News Watch 7's Chronicle.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob McCartney. They are considered world class, yet in their hometown, many people may not realize just how good the Omaha Symphony is, or some of the work the orchestra is doing in the community. You'll meet some of the musicians. You'll hear about how they've gotten creative to get people interested, how they go into schools, mentoring young musicians, and we're going to look at the future of the symphony here. First, she is the concertmaster for the Omaha Symphony. Susanna Gilmore has been surrounded by music her entire life. And when we met with her in the concert hall, she showed us her primary instrument. It's a violin made in Italy in 1776.
I was born in Buffalo, New York, and then when I was 7, we moved to Bloomington, Indiana, and then when I was 13, we moved to Nashville, and then we moved to England.
So your violin has taken you all around the world, it sounds
Indeed,
like.
it has, and it continues to, yeah.
So when did you pick it up? When did you start?
I started violin when I was 8.
Okay.
I had started piano first when I was 5, and when I was 7, we moved from upstate New York to Bloomington, Indiana, which has a wonderful music school to this day. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, music school in the country. And there was a great Suzuki violin teacher at the university. My little brother had started, and I was sitting in his lessons and sitting with the group lessons, all these kids playing together, and thinking, I want to do that. Like piano, I'm just all by myself, working on my own, and I want to play all these other kids. So I pled my case and was allowed to also start on the violin. And I think that communal aspect of the instruments that are in an orchestra is what really drew me.
Nice. So people, they know the conductor, right? They know the person up directing the symphony. They may not know the concertmaster. Yeah. What is that job?
It's an interesting job. I've heard it, one analogy, Thomas Wilkins, a beloved former music director, I think he's music director emeritus now, technically. He used to call me his field general. It's a military analysis, and I've also heard somebody refer to it as the quarterback of the symphony. So I am the musician who is the most direct liaison to the conductor. I'm the principal first violinist. And throughout the rehearsal process, the conductor will frequently turn to me and ask how to accomplish something, because in an orchestra, the string section is the largest by far. And we are trying as a big group to sound unified and sound like one voice. And we have various means that we use to do that, but it's just very helpful to have somebody think in a problem-solving way as an expert string player and come up with solutions in real time.
How is the symphony doing?
I think the symphony is terrific. It is in a stage of growth. It has been consistently growing since I joined in 2011. And every audition, we bring in great new talent, and it blends with the usually older, experienced talent, and it keeps morphing and evolving in a way that's very exciting.
What is Omaha doing right that other symphonies could mimic? I mean, you've been around the other symphonies, so what's in the secret sauce here?
I think that the leadership of the symphony and the musicians are very passionate about connecting to the community and presenting a product that the community wants and needs, which is not always the same thing.
Right, sure.
But and I think we represent the community. We're not superimposing something else onto something else. We are all members of the community, and so I feel that there's a really strong connection there.
Yeah, and helping lead that community engagement is Omaha's resident conductor, Ernest Richardson. He's been with the symphony since 1993. Also an accomplished musician, he's charted out a noteworthy career.
I started playing violin when I was 3, and I switched to viola when I was in college and graduate school. I studied composition as well, and then I started working as an instrumentalist. Actually, my first job was as a violist with the Phoenix Symphony. I mentioned to the music director that I wanted to be a conductor, so he set up an audition for me. I started conducting in Phoenix and got some reputation, and then I was recruited to come here in Omaha.
Do you ever get to play still?
The only time I play in public is when my wife tells me that I'm playing in public.
Smart man. So why did you get that conductor bug? I mean, what was it that when you move from musician, well, you're all musicians, but from performer to conductor?
I always wanted to be a conductor. So my father's the violinist and a conductor, and so I grew up watching him conduct. And I remember I would set up my stuffed animals in my room and play a record. And I would conduct the animals to whatever music I was listening to. So I always wanted to be a conductor.
And you're a very accomplished conductor as well. You're the principal pops conductor. Basically, correct me if I'm wrong, you lead most non-classical concerts. I mean, I know you do classical as well.
Yes.
But most non-classical concerts. Why is that important? Why do you do that?
Well, first of all, I love it. Second of all, I think it's really important for an orchestra to be reaching out in all different genres to the community it serves. So we're really about serving the community, and I'm capable, I guess, of doing all those different genres, and I love doing it, and it's sort of the way my career developed as I've been here in Omaha.
Now, you also are fundamental to the symphony's education department. You've got several departments, if you will, probably lack of a better term. Let's walk through some of them. The Choral Collaborative. What's that?
So the Choral Collaborative is near and dear to my heart because we developed it here in Omaha. We're pretty sure that nobody else in the country is doing anything like this on the scale that we do it. It may be unique to the world. I know it sounds pretty dramatic, but it started off as a conversation with one of the choral teachers in the community at Bellevue West, Don Reimer, who was reputed by everybody when I got into town as one of the best choral guys in town. And so I asked him, can you imagine your kids singing with our orchestra? And if you can, what would that look like? How would we develop that? And so he said yes. And so we started working on how this would actually come to be. And the first one was, at his school, very small scale. And over about 20 years, it grew into something where we'll bring in 400 students from 5 or 6 schools. They'll do a major choral work right here with the Omaha Symphony, and it's incredible. We do it every fall. The kids start working on it in August, and so that's the primary attention that they have over the course of the fall. And we have amazing teachers who are willing to take on such a difficult and long-range project. So I don't know that it could be replicated anywhere else in the world because it takes that many teachers, that much dedication. And it takes an organization that's willing to invest into a project that has a life of 10 or 20 years. That's saying a lot.
Right. What exposure, how great for the kids to be able to reach out and have access to professional musicians like your music mentorship program.
Right. Anytime that we are helping kids play music and helping them experience directly making music, we are really conveying the language of music to them. And whether or not they go on as professionals doesn't matter. They are speaking fluent music at that point. So kids who have studied it and learned how to play it actually hear it on a very different level than their parents if they didn't study music. So it really is like acquiring a language.
What is Mission Imagination?
Mission Imagination is our youngest audience. So we take, for the most part, we take the orchestra to where they go, whether it's a school or some kind of meeting area or sometimes here. And we create a program that engages their imagination in the context of hearing orchestral music. So it's an introductory program. It involves actors. It involves a lot of preparatory material. It's their first chance to really experience music live.
Why is that important, to get them when they're young?
Again, it's like any language. When you are young, you can acquire a language really quickly. It's your brain, your whole setup is just acquiring language. So if we get that happening early, then they develop the language quicker. and more depth. So it's really about that first exposure to hearing this music and beginning to experience the language development aspect of it.
What is your goal then? What's your hope for the symphony, for the Omaha Symphony?
I want the Omaha Symphony to be the most connected orchestra to its community in the world. So what does that mean? That means that larger and larger numbers of people feel like they identify with the sound of their orchestra. Regardless of the venue, regardless of the style, but they feel connected. Whether they've studied music, whether they've been in choral collaborative, whether they heard it as a little kid in Mission Imagination, whether they come to it every year. We have people who come to our Christmas show every year as a family, and they'll talk to me and say, you know, I started coming when I was 3, and now I'm bringing my own kids to it. Those kinds of traditions where each concert's like a touch point into the community. I just imagine one day that the second language of Omaha will be music, and that will be heralded by the Omaha Symphony.
And next on Chronicle, more about the educational programs, how the symphony is getting kids interested in music, and later, the future looks bright from the main stage. What's in store for Omaha's orchestra?